When my son Daniel passed away, the world around me fell apart, not with noise, but with silence. That kind of silence that crawls under your skin and stays there. The phone calls stopped, the neighbors avoided eye contact, and my daughter-in-law, Megan, was the quietest of them all. At the funeral, she stood like marble. No tears, no tremor in her voice, just the same practiced expression she wore when Daniel was alive and I dared to visit unannounced. I told myself she was grieving in her own way. I wanted to believe that. 2 weeks later, I drove to Daniel's house. His clothes were gone. The furniture he built by hand, gone. Even his old pickup truck, the one he loved more than anything, was missing from the driveway. The only thing left was the echo of my footsteps on the hardwood floor and a faint smell of his cologne. Megan appeared in the doorway, holding her phone like a weapon. "You shouldn't be here, Margaret," she said. "It's not your house anymore." Her words hit harder than any slap. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She smiled, a small, cruel curve. "Daniel left everything to me. I sold most of it already. You should move on." I felt the world tilt under my feet. My son, my only child, couldn't have done that. He wouldn't. But when she handed me a copy of the will, neatly signed and sealed, my hands trembled. It looked real. Too real. That night, sitting in my empty kitchen, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Daniel's last text flashed in my mind. "Mom, if anything happens to me, don't trust anyone. Not even Megan." And that's when I knew, the silence wasn't grief, it was guilt. Sleep didn't come easy after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel's message, "Don't trust anyone." His words weren't a warning. They were a map. By morning, I was sitting in front of Daniel's old laptop, the one Megan said she'd forgotten to sell. The screen was cracked, and the keys stuck, but when I pressed the power button, it hummed to life. His wallpaper was a picture of us at the lake, our hands covered in sawdust from fixing the dock together. I hadn't realized how much I missed that sound, his laugh, his warmth, his quiet stubbornness. As I dug through his folders, I found receipts, emails, bank statements, and then something strange, a folder named June Promise. When I opened it, there wasn't much, just a list of numbers and one PDF titled, "For Mom." My heart froze. Inside was a bank statement, not from his regular account, but from a hidden one. A large withdrawal made only a week before his death. The amount? $250,000. And the recipient? A foundation I'd never heard of, Silver Pines Recovery Center. Except Daniel had never been in rehab. He didn't drink, didn't gamble. The name meant nothing, until I Googled it. There it was, an abandoned clinic 3 towns over, shut down 5 years ago for fraud. Someone had forged the payment. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Stop digging, Margaret. Daniel wanted peace. Don't ruin it." My blood ran cold. I looked around my quiet kitchen, realizing I wasn't alone in this anymore. Someone knew what I was doing. Someone watching, waiting. And as I turned off the laptop, I saw a reflection in the window. A figure standing near the driveway. Still, watching. Megan's car. The next morning, I drove straight to Megan's house. My hands trembled the entire way, not from fear, but from something sharper, rage. When she opened the door, her perfect smile froze for just a second. "Margaret," she said sweetly, "I thought we agreed." "Cut the act," I snapped. "You lied about Daniel's will. You forged his signature. You stole everything he worked for." Her eyes narrowed. "You're losing it, old woman." I threw the printed bank statement onto the kitchen counter, the one with the Silver Pines transaction. "Then explain this. Why did $250,000 go to a fake rehab center a week before my son died?" Her face changed, not panic, but calculation. I saw the moment she realized I wasn't bluffing. "You shouldn't have looked," she hissed. "You don't know what you're getting into." "Then enlighten me," I said, stepping closer. She smirked, brushing past me toward the coffee machine, pretending to be calm. "Daniel made mistakes. He didn't tell you everything. He was desperate, and I helped him. You wouldn't understand." "Then help me understand." My voice cracked. "He was my son." The mug she held shattered on the floor. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then she looked up, eyes blazing. You think you knew him, she said. But there were things he hid from you, from everyone. If you keep digging, you'll destroy what's left of him. Her words hung in the air like poison, but I didn't back down. I leaned in, meeting her gaze. You already did. As I turned to leave, I noticed her phone screen light up on the counter, a message previewed across it. Did she find the cabin yet? I froze. The sender's name made my blood turn to ice. Ethan. Daniel's best friend, the one who vanished after the funeral. That I followed the address from the text message Megan received, the one asking if I'd found the cabin yet. It took me 2 hours of driving through fog-drenched forest roads before I saw it, a small wooden structure swallowed by vines and silence. The kind of place where time seemed to rot. Daniel's shack, the one he never told me about. The front door hung crooked on its hinges. Inside, dust blanketed everything, a cot, a workbench, old photographs nailed to the walls. I brushed one off. It was Daniel and Ethan. They looked younger, hopeful. But something about Ethan's smile made my stomach twist. I searched every drawer, every inch of floorboard until I found it, a small lockbox hidden under loose planks. Inside were a flash drive, a note, and one of Daniel's watches. The note read, "If you're reading this, Mom, then she finally did it. Don't let her win. Ethan knows the truth." My vision blurred. My heart pounded so hard I thought the forest could hear it. I drove home with the flash drive clutched in my hand, praying my shaking fingers wouldn't drop it. When I plugged it into my laptop, the folder that opened made me gasp. Videos, documents, contracts. Megan and Ethan, together, signing property transfers, arguing over dates, even laughing about Daniel's naive trust. They had planned it all. Every lie, every fake document, every cent stolen from my son's name. But at the bottom of the list was one last file. Insurance_claim_07.mp4. I clicked it. Daniel appeared on the screen, his face pale, eyes haunted. "Mom," he whispered. "If anything happens to me, promise me you'll tell them I didn't fall. They made it look like an accident." My world shattered. The video ended with the sound of a door creaking open behind him, and a man's voice I recognized instantly. Ethan. My hands shook as I copied Daniel's video onto a flash drive. Every word he said echoed in my head like a bell tolling through fog. They made it look like an accident. I drove straight to the sheriff's office the next morning, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Sheriff Collins had known Daniel since he was a boy, but when I showed him the video, his face changed, stiff, guarded. This is serious, Margaret," he said slowly, glancing toward the frosted window. "You shouldn't have this." "What do you mean I shouldn't?" Before I could finish, the door opened. Megan stepped inside, a warm smile plastered across her face like she owned the place. "Margaret," she said smoothly, "I told you not to make this harder for yourself." Collins stood, clearing his throat. "Ladies, maybe we should," but I was already on my feet. "You're working with her," I said. The look he gave me was all the confirmation I needed. Megan's tone dropped, low and venomous. "You think you're some kind of hero? You're just a lonely old woman chasing ghosts." Daniel was sick, Margaret. He couldn't handle what he'd done. What he'd done? I snapped. "You killed him." Her eyes flickered, the first real crack in her perfect mask. "Be careful," she whispered. "You don't know who you're talking to." I backed away, clutching the flash drive. Then maybe it's time everyone did. That night, I hid the drive inside the old family Bible, the one Daniel used to keep under his bed, and mailed a copy to the local paper. But as I walked back into my kitchen, the window blinds shifted slightly. Someone had been there, and on the table sat an envelope. No stamp, no name. Inside, "Stop digging, or you'll end up next to him." Sleep became impossible. Every creak in the house made me flinch, every shadow on the porch light felt like eyes watching. I started locking my bedroom door, something I hadn't done since my husband passed. 2 nights after the note appeared, I woke to the sound of gravel crunching outside. Headlights flashed briefly through the curtains, then vanished. I grabbed the phone, but the line was dead. They were cutting me off. I took the old shotgun from the attic, my husband's, and sat by the window until dawn. The woods behind the house were still, but I could feel it. Someone had been there. Someone was there. The next morning, I found muddy footprints by the back door and cigarette butts near the fence, the same brand Ethan used to smoke. My heart dropped into my stomach. That afternoon, Megan showed up again. She didn't knock this time. She just walked in like she owned the place, her perfume filling the room before her voice did. "You're making this ugly, Margaret," she said, eyeing the Bible on the table. "Just give me the drive, and we can end this." I laughed bitterly. "End this? You killed my son." Her lips tightened. "Your son killed himself. He couldn't live with the guilt." "Guilt for what?" She stepped closer. "For what he found out. About Ethan. About me. About you." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. She leaned in, whispering, "You really don't know, do you?" I raised the shotgun just enough to make her step back. "Get out." She smiled, cold, confident. "Be careful where you point that thing, old lady. Accidents happen all the time." When she finally left, I locked every door, every window, and sank to the floor shaking. But later that night, as I replayed Daniel's video for the 100th time, I noticed something I hadn't before, a reflection in the mirror behind him. A necklace. One I'd seen before. Megan's. I couldn't stop staring at the reflection in that video, that necklace glinting faintly under the light. Megan's necklace. The same silver locket she wore every single day, claiming it was a gift from her late mother. But I remembered seeing it long before Megan ever entered our lives. I had bought one just like it, for Daniel's 21st birthday. It wasn't hers at all. It was his. My hands trembled as I pulled the flash drive out and replayed the video again. The voice, the fear in Daniel's eyes, the faint whisper before Ethan entered, it all connected now. He wasn't just scared of Ethan. He was protecting her. Megan wasn't the puppet. She was the puppeteer. I dug through the files again, this time slower, more careful. A folder named archive_1 opened with old pictures, ones from before she met Daniel. In one, she stood with a man I didn't recognize. But the caption, dated 10 years earlier, said, "Megan and Ethan, new beginnings." My heart dropped. Stepfather, my foot. They weren't related. They never were. It was a scam from the very start. She had married Daniel for his name, his access, and when he found out, they silenced him. I felt bile rise in my throat. I needed to tell someone, anyone, but who would believe me now? Collins was in their pocket. The police were compromised. Then I remembered Daniel's lawyer, Mr. Hanley. Old, stubborn, and incorruptible. He'd been handling the family trust for decades. If anyone could expose the truth, it was him. I grabbed my coat and the flash drive, but as I opened the front door, a gust of wind carried something across the porch, a photograph, face down. I bent to pick it up. It was me. Taken through my kitchen window. And scrawled across the back, in red ink. "Too late, Margaret." The morning after the photograph appeared, I packed a small bag and left before sunrise. The flash drive, the photo, Daniel's Bible, all went into my coat pocket. I drove to Mr. Hanley's office with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight they turned white. But when I arrived, the door was ajar. Papers littered the floor, drawers open, coffee spilled and dried on the desk. I called out, "Mr. Hanley?" No answer. On the desk was an envelope, my name on it, written in shaky handwriting. Inside, a single note. "They know you're coming. Trust no one." My heart dropped. I turned to leave, and froze. Through the window, a black SUV sat parked across the street. Engine running. Windows tinted. I walked out calmly, clutching my bag, pretending not to notice. I crossed the street, rounded the corner, and slipped into a crowded cafe. I waited. 15 minutes. Then 20. The SUV never moved. They wanted me scared. They were succeeding. That night, I decided to turn the tables. If Megan wanted the drive so badly, I'd make sure she came for it, on my terms. I printed a fake newspaper email header and sent it to her from a burner account. Story goes live tomorrow. Local mother accuses daughter-in-law in son's death. An hour later, she replied. We need to talk. Alone. I told her to meet me at the cabin, Daniel's cabin, at midnight. I arrived early. Set up my phone to record, every corner lit by a single flickering lantern. Outside, the forest howled with wind. Then headlights cut through the dark. She stepped out, calm, smiling, wearing that damned silver locket. Still playing detective, she said, voice dripping with mock pity. You never did learn when to quit. But this time, I wasn't the one trapped. Hidden behind the curtain, a red recording light blinked. The cabin was cold, silent except for the slow creak of the wind against the boards. Megan stood across from me, hands in her coat pockets, eyes glinting in the lantern light. You really think you're some kind of hero? She said. Daniel was weak. He couldn't handle the truth. I steadied my voice. You made sure he couldn't. She smirked. Please. He found out what Ethan and I were doing. He wanted to ruin us. But he was clumsy, emotional. One slip in the woods and... Enough. I slammed my hand on the table. He didn't fall. You pushed him. Her eyes narrowed. You can't prove that. Maybe not. I nodded toward the camera light blinking faintly behind her. But he can. For the first time, she looked unsure. What did you do? I made sure your story, our story, is already out there. A journalist has the full file. The video. The documents. Everything. She laughed, a bitter, disbelieving sound. You're bluffing. Try me. For a moment, we just stared at each other, two women bound by loss, hate, and truth. Then she lunged. I fell backward as the lantern shattered, plunging the room into chaos. We struggled in the dark, the air filled with smoke, glass crunching underfoot. She grabbed my arm, nails digging deep. I fought back, desperate, heart pounding in my ears. Then, a flash. The gun. Her gasp. Silence. I stood there trembling, the barrel still smoking, her body crumpled on the floor. I dropped the gun, knees giving way, breath ragged. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. I hadn't called them. Someone else had. As the door burst open and blinding lights filled the room, I whispered, "It's over, Daniel." But deep down, I knew, this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of the reckoning. They said it was self-defense. The police found the camera, the files, the letter from Mr. Hanley, all proof of what Megan and Ethan had done. The DA called it a tragic but justified act. The case closed faster than I expected, too fast to feel real. But peace doesn't come with a verdict. It comes in quiet, empty mornings. After the funeral, her second one I'd attended, this time without tears, I drove to Daniel's cabin one last time. The air was crisp, the forest calm. For the first time since his death, I felt like he was there with me, not haunting, but watching. Proud, maybe. I unlocked the door. The smell of pine and smoke hit me. The shattered lantern was gone, replaced by sunlight streaming through the window. On the table sat his Bible. Open. A single line underlined in his handwriting. What was lost will be found again. I sank into the chair, my body shaking. He had known. Somehow, he'd prepared for this, not just for the fight, but for forgiveness. Weeks later, I donated the house. Every penny from the sale went into a foundation under his name, the Daniel Carter Trust. It would help young men like him, dreamers who believed the world could still be kind. As I handed the final papers to the lawyer, he paused and smiled softly. You know, he said, he would have wanted this. I nodded. So do I. That night, as I stood on the porch watching the sun sink behind the trees, I felt it. Not victory, not even closure, but release. Grief doesn't end. It transforms. And as the wind whispered through the pines, I realized Daniel's legacy wasn't what he left behind. It was what he inspired me to become.